In this video, you are going to learn my secrets on how to grow your own giant pineapple fruit. I'm going to show you how to start the plant, how to make it fruit, how to take care of it on a regular basis, all the way down to harvesting and eating, and how to cut your own delicious pineapple grown and ripened on your mother plant. I am a third-generation Floridian, born and raised in Miami, Florida, and I started gardening when I was in high school. My aunt actually started teaching me. Have a lot of family members who have green thumbs, and I've been super into gardening ever since high school, and I've learned a ton since then. Besides pineapples, I also grow the most delicious mangoes ever on this monstrous mango tree, wild banana trees, miracle berries, cactuses, succulents, and a variety of orchids. I also have quite a few milkweed plants in the garden for the beautiful monarch butterflies, and that's the caterpillars. A variety of different hybrid tea roses. Aloe plants. I also grow a variety of other stuff, guys. We'll get into that another day, but let's jump right back into pineapples. That's what you guys keep asking me about, and that's what we're gonna do in this video. So right here, we have got a gorgeous pineapple with a very ripe pineapple on the plant, ready to go, ready to harvest. Bought this pineapple at the store just as anybody would. This is a pineapple top or pineapple crown, and that's how I grew this pineapple. Let's go ahead and harvest it right now. As soon as it starts getting golden like that, that means to take it off the plant. You also want to make sure animals don't get your harvest. So what I do is I literally just start to bend it, and it's gonna pop right off that vine. Perfect break. Look at that gorgeous pineapple. That is gonna be some tasty, tasty pineapple. There is no comparison to a store-bought one. All right, guys. The cool thing about pineapples is definitely so rewarding, and you're never gonna see a golden pineapple like this in a store because they take them off the plant when they're not ripe, and that way they're for easier transportation and longer shelf life. So again, this is a delicacy. You'll never see a ripened plant golden like this in the store. But this is what I did with my first ever pineapple. Bought a store-bought one that was green just like this. We're gonna eat this guy in the house, but first what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut as close to the top of the crown as possible without wasting too much meat. Just like that, cut it right off. We'll take that in the house and eat that in a minute here. But now we got our beautiful crown. So what I would do with this, all I'm gonna do is start ripping these leaves away and exposing these dormant roots. Do you see that, guys? That's all these dormant roots that are ready to get into the soil, ready to get planted, so this can grow out into another beautiful pineapple plant. Look at all those roots. Just goes to show you how healthy this plant was. So I take off about a third of these leaves, because once these leaves, they're not gonna grow any bigger. They're gonna come from the center of the rosette. And all we do is just take off a bunch. I'll probably take off about a third, few more, but you guys get the gist of it. The most important key to success here is you're gonna let it sit out now. You're gonna let it dry for a few days, up to a week. Why? That's gonna stop rotting. You don't want that to rot from the inside out. This was a crown that I just harvested off a plant a week ago, and you can see it's already nice and dry, ready to go. So this is what we're gonna plant. After a few days, you plant that crown, but we got one right here. Now, my soil mixture, we got a setup here of what works for me. And obviously you can plant it in the ground if you live in South Florida. The key to success with pineapples, they need a lot of sun. They need at least 6 hours of sun. The soil is also very important. They like acidic soil. So here's my combination of soil that I'm gonna use for this crown. We got peat moss, sphagnum peat moss, which is on the acidic side. We're gonna use lots of perlite to get that dirt nice and airy. I also like to use a few cups of earthworm castings in there because that provides a lot of nitrogen. I also mix a lot of sand into the soil because I love a sandy mixture of soil so they dry out quickly. And then I'll also mix in some cocoa coir, which is also great to keep it nice and airy because that's what they like. They do not like wet feet. They do not like wet dirt. And the most important thing that you're gonna need is the Dr. Earth Exotic Blend is the one that I use. All this stuff can be found on my Amazon store in the link below if you're interested. But I found out this is what works for me. And another secret of mine is spent coffee grounds from my coffee machine in the morning. I take them every morning and save them and mix that into the dirt. And the pineapples seem to love it, and you can see how big they're getting. So what I'm doing, I think, is working. So what we're gonna do now, I've already got a pre-mixture set up in here ready to go of all this stuff we just used. And I kind of follow directions on the back of this. Use this fertilizer about every 2 months, especially top dressing the bigger plants. But we're gonna take this mixture, put it right into this small 6-inch container, which is perfect for starting a smaller pineapple plant with no roots. And it's already pretty moist, so we're not gonna get it too much more moist. Again, you don't want that soil sopping wet. Watering plants is an art that you just have to learn over time, and honestly, I'm still learning to this very day. And real quick, just to tell you about the percentages of what I use here, basically for this 10-gallon, which is what I work these plants into, the biggest is a 10-gallon fabric pot, which is what I like to use. But basically, I use 2/3 of peat moss, 1/3 of the cocoa coir. The same goes with the sand, and then I'll also use about a cup of earthworm castings per gallon of soil, and also the same goes with the coffee grinds. So about 1 cup per gallon of soil, all right guys? And again, that's kind of just estimates for me. I kind of guess it as I go along. So all we're gonna do now, we got that dirt pre-mixed in here. All we're gonna do is just take this, stick it right in the top so it's nice and firm in there. You can pat the soil around it just so it stays upright. Don't want to go too far. Again, moist soil, and just let it sit in the sun, part shade, just to let it get going. And in about 2 or 3 weeks, this is going to have roots. And then I'm just going to keep transplanting as it grows and matures in this container. This is a crown that I've actually planted back in March. So you can see how big this guy is. It's a little over 6 months old now, and it's in a 5-gallon pot. I'm going to transfer that once it gets a little bigger. Then we're going to move over to this guy. This was actually a sucker, which I'll tell you about in just a second what a sucker is. This was also transplanted back in March into this container, and I recently just gave it fertilizer. Again, the fertilizer, I just follow the instructions on the back and it gives you the information for what size pots you're using, okay? And now we go to something big and mature and beautiful. This is a full-grown, mature female pineapple plant right here. This plant right now is exactly 1.5 years old, okay? For me, they actually fruit a lot quicker than for other people. So it just really depends on your climate. And where I am, it's zone 10, perfect conditions for a beautiful pineapple plant. Now, back in December, January of this year, that's when she threw up a center stalk through the middle of the rosette, and then beautiful little blue flowers come out, and when those flowers die, underneath it is where that little pineapple starts to grow. It takes approximately 6 months from when that main stalk comes out of the top of the pineapple, and then for this to actually be ripened and ready to eat, again, approximately 6 months from the time she starts to flower and fruit and create this beautiful pineapple. Now, top question from a lot of you guys. My plant is not fruiting. It's been 3 years. It's been 5 years. I've heard a lot of that from you guys on social media. There's going to be a couple different reasons as to why. Number one, the sun. You really need sun for these pineapple plants. Minimum of 6 hours of direct sunlight per day, all right? No matter where you are. These guys get a ton of sunlight on the side of my house. The other thing is the acidity of the soil is very important. In order for the mature pineapple plant to want to flower and fruit, you need to give her the right soil acidity. So that's where these coffee grinds come in, and I really think it's the key to success. Also, you need to feed them blooming nutrients. If your soil composition is not good wherever you planted it, if you don't give them blooming nutrients, they're not going to encourage them to fruit, okay? So this is the one that I recommend using. I've also heard people saying ethylene gas, putting apples on top of it and all that stuff. You can try it for yourself. Just me with the critters and iguanas that live around here, I can't do such a thing. But I think a combination of coffee grinds, combination of the fertilizer and the sun is going to help yours fruit. And I know people have done it all the way up in like upper state New York, so you can do it. And if you are up north, a lot of you guys will actually bring them indoors in the wintertime, called overwintering them. But you really, again, you need to make sure they get that sunlight. Put them as close to the window as possible. It's very important. They're also a member of the bromeliad family, so keep that in mind. You treat them like a succulent. You don't water them every day. They really like dry feet, and they can handle drought resistant. They can handle a drought, and very resistant to that in general. Once you take the fruit off the mother plant, she is going to die. But if you want to grow a ton of pineapples like myself, for example, I have a dozen pineapple fruits growing right now and over 20 plants all over the property. And you can do that 3 ways. First way I showed you, just like before, we cut that crown off. We got a crown that we're going to plant right back into the soil, and this will grow its own pineapple. Second way, when that mother plant is dying, she produces offspring. She produces offspring called slips and suckers, and the amount can vary between each pineapple plant. You treat them as individuals. This is a slip growing off the stalk. This is where an original pineapple was that we've already harvested. That slip easily breaks right off. We have the slip right here. Again, you're gonna let this dry out for a few days, plant it. That's the second way. This is going to fruit much faster, about a year. Here's one starting. The slips and suckers are what you want. If you have any friends with pineapple plants, try to see if you can get those because again, both of those are gonna fruit under a year. We have a giant sucker right here. The suckers are the ones that actually form in between the leaves of the mother plant. And you can see this massive sucker coming out the side. We also have another baby called the raccoon sucker. That's a raccoon that comes out of the dirt. So you can leave these on here and they will grow, but they will compete with each other. So I highly recommend taking them off. Let's take this sucker off right now. Super simple. I recommend using a glove because these guys are very sharp and they will poke you. But you're gonna get your hands around the base of that sucker and all you're gonna do is get a good grip and do a twist and a bend at the same time and she break right off. There we go. Look at that gorgeous sucker. It's already massive. And by this December, it's going to have a fruit. We're just gonna let that dry out for a few days. We're back in the house, guys. I almost died of heat exhaustion out there. It's crazy hot, but it's time to eat our delicious pineapple. I'm gonna show you my method of cutting a pineapple. A million different ways out there. You do what works for you, but this method, we're gonna save as much meat as possible.
All right, Sizzle, I'm ready to eat.
Let's do it, y'all.
Pudding here.
All right, so I hope you guys like that way of cutting that pineapple. Again, minimum waste. And we've already enjoyed like 6 homegrown pineapples so far this season, and we got more to go. Here we go. Cheers.
Oh my God. I make fun of her, what I call a ghetto garden all the time.
He does.
But you can't get pineapple like this at the store. You can't do it.
You just will never see it. Again, it's the reason because they take it off the plant when it's green for easier shelf life and transportation. And it's just a delicacy. I mean, if you guys have any questions.
I can't believe how good it is.
He can't stop eating it. It's amazing. We're going to devour this right now.
I already have diabetes.
But if you guys have any questions, please drop them down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Let us know if you enjoyed this kind of content too. Be happy to make more gardening videos for you guys.
No upside down pineapple jokes.
No.
No.
No, guys. Not cool.
All right. Until next time.
Follow your dream.
And keep on
catching.
eating pineapples.
Farmer and fisherman over here. And I'm not upset about it.
Check her out on TikTok. She has incredible videos on gardening.
So good.
So good.